This is RF from the Country Lunch Show on WOOL 91.5 FM. Let's get back with the last part of our interview on March 18th with Paleo Mountain Man and Budcat 7.
And I think they got a lot of that geometry from the astronomy that they had practiced, right? So we're familiar with astronomy. We're familiar with the constellations and all the pictures from all the different civilizations over the many, many millennia who created these figures out of the geometry of the stars.
And the
So you
wall.
have the geometry of the stars, and we often see the geometry of the stars reflected in the stone constructions from the various civilizations around the world. Where, well, in the Northeast, where the stone walls are present, this also is present. This geometry is present there. And we can see in the effigies that they built. For example, the effigy, the serpent effigy on Jimmy's property that he shows on his channel, and I show on my channel when I went to visit him up there. The sculpture itself that's built into the wall contains any number of geometric forms: a circle, a triangle, a square, a five-sided stone, a six-sided stone. So these these shapes, these forms can be found often in many of the effigies that are to be found in the stone wall. So as you come upon one of these effigies in the stone walls, the serpent effigy, as we know from my research on the stone walls, that all of the stone walls are serpents. As we come up upon these effigies of the serpent in the wall, we can see the round stone, the triangular stone, the square stone, the five-sided stone. They're all incorporated over and over again into these effigies. So we can see it's clearly evident that they understood the importance of geometry. Geometry in the stars and the geometry of the stone walls.
And how do you get a continuum of, you know, in one place in one state you'll get a stone wall built with that geometry. Then you'll go, 100 miles away and find the same thing.
Same thing.
It, it was a big culture. You don't just create those things. It takes a lot of people to build one wall. A lot of people, not just to forge
And
for the
it takes
stone,
time too. It takes
it's a
time.
big
It's not
project.
something that's whipped up in a second or whatever it is. They really, really thought these things out.
Yeah, they had to be
They took
astronomers.
their
They had to
time.
be mathematicians and geometers. They had to have strong arms to lift up these stones and move them around and place them. You
And
can't
we
just
know they did. They
and you
were of such large size that that wasn't as much an issue to them as it is to us because of our size, right? We look at these
that's the way it
constructions
seems.
of,
That's sure
and we
sure
look
the
at the
way it looks.
constructions around the world, and we say, well, how did these people do it? Well, and I'm saying it again this week. If you're 12 and 13 and 14 and 16 and 18 feet tall, you're lifting up these stones, no problem. You know, if the average size of the stone is 65 to 75 pounds in the stone walls, well, it's conceivable that some of the people who built these stone walls were grabbing 65 and 75 pound stones with one hand. One hand. Okay? Not like us.
Well,
So you have to consider that.
I know from a lot of the artifacts I find, there's artifact can tell you a lot because a lot of the stone artifacts will fit in your hand and they fit perfectly in your size hand, and I find a lot of those. I also find artifacts that don't fit in my hand. They're for larger hands, and some are for very large hands. There were people
Well, you
of all
gotta
different.
think, Jimmy, right? The children of these people, the children of the people who are 12 feet tall, let's say, or whatever, their children are going to be like our size, right?
Hmm.
So if they were creating art, if they were learning how to, carve artifacts, create artifacts, well, they're going to make it to their size, so to a child's size. So if a child makes something for himself today or whatever, it's not going to be suited for an
Well,
adult because the child made
that
it,
goes to the point.
to their size.
They must have been a very, very different than us to be able to pull that off at that age. That type of
Well, I
creativity and
said,
sophistication.
I had artistic skills when I was a kid in school. I did a lot of fine artwork. As a matter of fact, a lot of my artwork got into the local paper that I did while I was in school, in high school and junior high school. So, as I've always said time and time again, it looks to me like your area there with the white quartz that could be quarried right there on your property was probably a teaching area. It was probably a learning area, a school area, a training area. Think about it. When the adults were out hunting or farming or doing whatever, these kids are sitting around with the grandparents or the aunts or the uncles or whatever, sitting on your property there, taking out the white quartz, and
Maybe you spent part of your life
it's going to
doing
be
that.
art class today.
Right.
You had art class.
Maybe back then you spent part of your life, engaged in those things, and
Of course you did.
you had.
You not only did you do that, but you learned how to make arrows. You learned how to make spearheads, right?
It's like a
So
university.
if you were doing that, you were also doing the art. You were making bows and arrows. You were making spears. You were making harpoons. Those are all skill sets that were taught. I mean, we know that from current anthropology today. When they look at primitive peoples around the world, we understand how their societies work. Well, the parents are the strongest and healthiest people. They have to do all the work. They can't be at home watching the children or whatever. That was for the grandparents and the aunts and uncles, because these people lived in the extended families, right?
Yeah.
They didn't live in nuclear families. The nuclear family is a modern invention, okay? Prior to just a couple of 100 years ago, people, their whole entire families lived together. It's not like today. So we know from the current anthropology that while the parents are out hunting or doing essential tasks or whatever it is, the children at home, they didn't have formal, compulsory education or whatever it is, but they had sort of a form of it, all right? All of these kids had to learn all of these things that they would be doing later on as adults, so they were required to do this training by their tribe or society. And these children were in class, let's say, all the time, learning how to make flint arrowheads, learning how to make flint spears, learning how to work with wood, learning how to work with leather and, to make clothing and, whatever it is. Well, and they also had their creative side. They made, we know from the later cultures they made pottery, but in this earlier culture of the Northeast that they were carving in stone. So while they were learning to make arrowheads and, spearheads and bows and arrows and learn how to work with leather and all, they also learned about art and about geometry and about astronomy. Who's going to teach them those things? Well, their parents are off doing the essential tasks that the tribe or the community needs them to do. Well, they're not teaching them. It was the elders who were teaching them all these essential
And
skills.
they use crystals
and part
to help
of the
tell the
essential
story.
skills was art. It was art, too.
Yeah,
it wasn't just those
they help tell
essential
stories
skills.
using the images in the stones. And that's why they're all together in one place. And people came there and they learned that craft, and they learned from the people that were there. And I think it was like a university.
I said a long time ago that your property there looked to me like it was a school. It was like a carving school going on there. And that's why you find such a high proliferation of artifacts around your area there, because that's where the white quartz was. That's where you went to get it. You couldn't get it, 300 feet away somewhere else, but you knew it was right there on the top of your property there. And I saw it with my own eyes because I went up there to visit you, that the white quartz bedrock areas were clearly mined. You could see evidence of mining activity, of quarrying activity taking place there.
Hey,
Right?
it's the top of the hour, guys, and I gotta.
Thanks,
All
Dave.
right.
All right, so again, Paleo, what's your website?
Paleo Mountain Man on YouTube.
And the Budcat?
Stonewall Research, Budcat 7, right on YouTube.
Come
Okay.
check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
There's a lot more there. And I was thinking, you're talking about serpent walls and stone walls. Well, how about their walls were built with cannonballs, and their motto is "Don't tread on me." You remember that, Grateful Dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I wonder where that,
There's a serpent in there somewhere.
why they came up with that. Or, well, I can see
Yeah.
why, but anyways, it's been great talking with you.
Thanks, Dave.
And
Thanks, Al.
you're welcome back on next week, and I'll see if I can. My little thinker will think about something that I would like to know about. This week I want
Yeah.
to know about what these larger stones did. I mean, what actually.
We love questions.
And
love
I have surmised. I mean, I will think about it some more, but I have surmised that since they were created at a certain date and time, they are cells of, like you say, information, intelligence that actually have that whole period in it. And if the more you look into it, the more you can see
agree.
into that space and time. And
Yes.
and they're put there. And this goes back to interpreting what is in the walls and what it takes to understand all that and be able to read what's going on. Well, I think I'm getting close to becoming a wall snoop, a wall
The wall
enthusiast.
snoop.
Yeah, something.
It's fascinating, isn't it, Alan?
It's interesting. It's very interesting. And it's got me going here. I haven't had any paranormal experiences lately, except the world is shutting down out there, and I said that's
Oh,
great.
everyone stay well out there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, y'all stay well and take good care of yourself. And
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks a lot, Al.
And have
Thank
a
you.
good
You
day.
too.